Hello and welcome back to Get Great at Maths. I'm here to help you pass your maths exam, so hit that like and subscribe button. We're going to look at keywords, key formulas and how to gain top marks. So let's get ready to get great at maths. This is a question on 3D shapes. The keywords in the question are that we have got an hexagonal prism. So this shape that you can see on the page is a hexagonal prism because we have got a hexagon at the end and the prism is the same shape all the way through. The question wants us to find how many faces, and this is going to be worth 1 mark. The keywords in the question. We need to know that a face, this is a flat surface on a 3D shape. So we have got a 3D shape here, and each of these flat surfaces that you can see and the ones that you can't see are called a face. Now, a 3D shape is a 3-dimensional solid but is not flat. So this shape here is 3-dimensional, okay, it's a solid and it will stick out of the paper. It's not 2D, it's not like on a piece of paper. A prism is a 3D shape with the same shape running through at both ends. So at one end of this shape here, I've got a hexagon, and at the other end here, I will also have a hexagon. So it's the same shape throughout, which means it is a prism. It's a hexagonal prism because it is a hexagon at each end. You need to know that a hexagon is a 6-sided shape. And to help us remember that the hexagon is a 6-sided shape, if you wrote the number 6, S-I-X, 6 and hexagon have both got an X in them, so that will help you remind you that a hexagon is a 6-sided shape. Press pause, have a go at working out how many faces there are on the shape, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Well done, guys. So hopefully you've managed to come up with an answer. Now, the common mistake here is that people just count the number of faces that you can see. So we'll count 1, 2, 3, 4, and that is the misconception. People think the answer is 4. But actually, there are more than 4 faces. So if you look at this shape here, I've got a hexagon on the end. So because I've got a hexagon on the end, that means there is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 edges of the hexagon, which means for every edge there is a rectangle. So this is 1, 2, 3 that you can see. There is a hidden one at the bottom, a hidden one on the left hand side, and a hidden one on the left hand side over here. So in total there are going to be 6 rectangles going around this prism. Then you've got this hexagon at the front, and you will also have a hidden hexagon at the back. So you've got 6 round the edge, 1 at the front, 1 at the back. So 6 plus the 2 gives you 8, and that will give you 1 mark in the exam. So you need to make sure that you include all the faces, even the hidden ones, okay, to get the correct answer and to get the correct mark. Well done if you managed to get 8. Great work. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 8. 1M means 1 method mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on multiplication. The keywords in the question are that you have got to use all 6 cards. So these are the 6 cards written up here, the numbers from 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 and 8. And you've got to complete the 3 multiplications below. So you've got to fill in the gaps here with the 6 numbers that you can see up there. So you can't repeat any of the numbers. You have to use different numbers in each box, and this will give you 1 mark in the exam. So your key facts are that you need to make sure you know your times tables, and you should know your times tables by now. You should be fluent and confident in those. And if it helps you write any of them out before you start, then get them written down if you need to. Press pause, have a go, see if you can work out what the missing gaps are in here. Press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Well done, guys. Hopefully you've managed to get yourself an answer. So we're going to be looking at these numbers up here. Now, before we look at the numbers at the top, we're just going to think about what numbers go into the numbers that you've been given down the bottom. Now, if you think of a number 24, okay, you've got 1 times 24 is a factor, 2 times 12, 3 times 8, 4 times 6. These are all your factors of 24. So we have got lots of choices within here. Now, out of the numbers that are listed up above, we've got a 3 and an 8, or we've also got a 4 and a 6. So it could be either one of those pairs. And we don't know which order it's going to be in until we've looked at some of the others down here. Now, 28, again, we've got 1 and 28. Not helpful because it's not in the numbers that we've been given up here. 2 and 14, again, not helpful because it's not in the numbers up here. 3 doesn't go into 28. 4 does. 4 times 7 is 28. So because we now got a 4 and a 7, which is 28, that means that the 4 can't be used up here in the 24. So the 4 has got to come in here for the 28 because we've only got 4 times 7 of the two numbers that will multiply to make 28 out of all these numbers up here. There are other numbers that will multiply to give 28, but out of the numbers that are listed here, only the 4 and 7 can be used. If we go on to the last one, we've got 30. Again, think of the numbers that multiply to give 30. You've got 1 times 30. Not helpful because that's not included in these numbers here. 2 times 15. Again, not helpful. 3 times 10. Not helpful either. Then we go to 5 times 6. Now 5 times by 6 is useful. So these are the numbers that are going to go in the box here. 5 times by 6. So 5 times by 6 gives me 30, which means the last two digits you've got to put in here for 24 are the 3 and the 8. So 3 times 8 gives me 24. Now, if it helps you as you go along, just check them off. So the number 3, yes, we've used it here. 4, we've used it here. 5, we've used it here. 6, we've used down the bottom. 7, we've used in the middle. And 8, we've used at the top. So I've used all 6 of these numbers. All 6 of these digits here are different. So make sure you've included them in the right boxes. It didn't matter if you wrote it the other way around, 8 times 3, it still means the same as 3 times 8. I've just put the smaller number first and the larger number afterwards. This will give you 1 mark in the exam. If you got this correct, give yourself a big tick. Well done, you've done really well. Great work. The mark scheme on this question shows there is 1 mark, so 1M means 1 mark, for getting all the correct answers. It doesn't matter the order you put the numbers in, so 3 times 8 or 8 times 3, either way round you will get the mark, whatever order you wrote them in. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on money. The key words in the question are that we've got to buy a banana, an apple and a bag of nuts. You are told that she pays with 3 50p coins and you've got to work out her change, and this will give you 2 marks in the exam. Remember to write your answer in the box provided. Now it does say on the left hand side you must show your method, which means you must show your working in order to get the full 2 marks. If you do get the answer correct, you will get the marks, but it is really important that you show how you get the answer in order to be able to get a method mark in case you make a mistake. The key facts you'll need to be able to answer this question are that the word buy means add up the totals. So when it says buy here, we've got to add up the totals for each of these items to be able to work out the total cost of the food that has been bought. Then later on in the question it says the word change. Now this change means how much money are you going to get back after you've paid for the item. So you need to work out how much money you're going to give the person in the shop. So how much money are you paying them and how much money are they going to give you back? So what is your change, or her change in this case? Press pause, have a think about the question and the answer. Press play when you've got yourself an answer. Well done guys, hopefully you've managed to get yourself an answer and written it in the box. Great work, well done. Now to start with on this question, we're going to look at the total amount of money for these 3 items. So we're going to add together the 30, 45 and 60. If we add these all together, we start with the right hand side, so 0 plus 5 plus 0 is just 5. Number bond to 10, 6 plus 4 is 10, plus the 3 gives me 13. So I've got 135 pence is what the 3 items cost in total. Now you're told that she pays with 3 50p coins. So I've got to work out how much money we have got with us. So that is 50p times by 3, or 50p plus 50p plus 50p, whichever way round you prefer to work it out. Now if we're going to do that multiplication in our head, we have got 3 times 5, which we know is 15, add on a 0, which gives me 150. So without a calculator, in your head, 5 times 3 is 15, add on 0 is 150 pence spent on the item. So that's how much money we've got to give the shopkeeper, and this is how much the items were worth, 135 pence. So to work out the change, we have to subtract the amounts. So I'm going to take the larger amount, which is 150, and then I'm going to take away the 135. Now for showing this method, what I've done so far, it will give you 1 mark. So as long as you've added up your totals, multiply the amount of 50p by 3, subtracted these answers, you will get 1 mark for doing the method. We now actually need to do the subtraction. So we always start on the right hand side. 0 take away 5 we can't do. So I'm going to go to the 5, I'm going to cross this out, make it a 4, and then I've got a 10 here. So I've now got 10 take away 5. 10 take away 5 is 5. 4 take away 3 is 1. 1 take away 1 is nothing, which means my answer is 15 pence. So the number I've got here is 15. So this is equivalent to 15 pence. And this will give you your 2nd mark in the exam for getting the correct answer of 15 pence. Give yourself a big tick if you got this correct. Great work. Well done, everyone. The mark scheme of this question says up to 2m, which means 2 marks. So you can get 1 mark for showing an incorrect answer, but with the appropriate method, or with a correct method. So that could have been 30p plus 45p plus 60p is equal to 135. 50 times 3 is 150. Take away the 135, that is 1 mark. Or you could have done 50 take away 30 is 20. 50 take away 45 is 5. And then 20 plus 5 plus 50 is 75. 75 take away 60 is an alternative method to get the answer of 15 pence. Or we could have done 150 take away 45, which gives you 95. An error is allowed here, so if you've made a mistake doing 150 take away 45 to give you 95, then take away the 60, then take away the 30, again we will end up with the answer of 15 pence. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on converting fractions to decimals. The key words of the question are we've got to draw 4 lines to match each fraction to its equivalent decimal. So the fractions that are written on the left hand side, you've got to draw a line across to match whichever is the correct decimal. So you've got to draw the lines in. And you should use your ruler to be able to do this. This is going to give you 2 marks in the exam. Now your key facts are that you need to know how to convert a fraction to a decimal. So this means you're going to divide the numerator by the denominator. So the number at the top divided by the number underneath will tell you what the decimal equivalent is. There are certain ones which are key, so such as a half, 3/4, 1/4, 1/3, and even 2/3 are decimals that you should know off the top of your head. So a lot of these ones here, 2 of the 4 that have been given, are key fractions to decimals that you should know just off the top of your head. I'm going to show you a method to be able to do them if you don't know them off the top of your head, but these are ones that you should just know. If your fraction is over 10, like this one here, it means you need to divide your numerator, the number at the top, by 10. And if your fraction is over 100, like this one here, you are going to divide your numerator by 100, so the number at the top needs to divide by 100. Remember, when we're divided by 10, all the digits move 1 place to the right to make the number smaller. And we're divided by 100, all the digits move 2 places to the right to make the digits or the number smaller. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Great work, guys. Hopefully you've managed to match up all these fractions with an equivalent decimal. So to start with, we're going to look at a half. So I'm going to look at the definition of it, 1 divided by 2. Most of you here probably already know what a half is as a decimal, one of these answers here. But if you don't know what a half is as a decimal, we're going to show you how you're going to work it out. So 1 whole, okay, is the numerator, 1, and that's the same as 1.0. And we're going to divide that by 2, which is the number here at the front. Now 2 into 1 doesn't go. So I'm going to cross this one out and write it up here, so I've got the number 10. Now the decimal point is here, so that means the new decimal point goes in exactly the same place. So I've now got to say how many times does 2 go into 10? It goes in 5 times. So a half is the same as 0.5. And that is a fraction to decimal that you should be aware of and know off the top of your head. If you don't know it or you forget it, then you can use this division here to help you work it out. The next one we're going to look at is 3 divided by 10, or 3/10. So we're going to divide 3 by 10. So my digit here is in the ones column. It's got to get one place smaller, so it's going to go behind the decimal point. So it's going to go one place to the right because I'm divided by 10. So there are two numbers up here which have got 3's in, 0.3 and 0.03. So the 3 originally started in this one column here. It's then going to move one place to the right, so it's going to come up to here. So the answer is going to be 0.3. This is 3/10. This number here means 3/10. So these two are equivalent, and you should be familiar at how to do your tenths in terms of decimals. 3/4 is another one that you should know off the top of your head. If you don't, you can use a division like this to work it out again. Or we can just use this fact here that a half is 0.5, which means 1/4 is a half of a half. So if we thought of this number as being 50 on the end, half of 50 is 25. So 0.25 is 1/4. So if I've got 0.50 plus 0.25, because a quarter plus a half is 3/4, I end up with 0.75, which will give you 1 mark for getting 3 of these correct. Again, 3/4 being 0.75, you can do the division like I've done over here, or it's something that you should just know. 3/4 is 0.75 or 75%. You should be familiar at converting between fractions, decimals and percentages. The last one here is 3 over 100. This means 3 divided by 100. So this time the digits from the ones column are going to go 2 places to the right. The only other number with a 3 in it is this one here. So the 3 started in the ones column here, but it's moved 1, 2, 3, 2 places to the right. So the 3 is now in the hundredths column. So this is 3/100, which is written as 3 over 100. So this is your last one to get the second mark. Give yourself a big tick if you got these correct. Well done, great work. The mark scheme on this question shows there are 2M, which means 2 method marks, or up to 2 method marks for getting all of them correct. It says you get 1 mark awarded for 3 fractions and decimals matched correctly. So if you get 3 out of the 4 done correctly, you'll get 1 mark. If you get all 4 of them correct, you will get the second mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a number problem, and we've got to work out how many children voted for strawberry. So the key words in the question are how many and strawberry. So basically you've got to work out what the question mark is here in this table. You need to write your answer in the box provided, and this will give you 2 marks. Now the key words in this question are the word total. So our key fact is that this word total means add up, how many. So you need to add together all these different flavours of ice cream. So the vanilla, the chocolate, the strawberry and the mint. We need to add all these numbers together. And if I add them all together, the answer is 402. Press pause, have a go at see if you can work out what the missing number here is. Press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Well done, guys. Hopefully you've managed to work out how many are strawberry. So to start with, you should have had a go at adding up the vanilla, the chocolate and the mint. So adding up the numbers that are given here. 87 plus 154 plus 38. We're going to add together these three numbers here. So we have got on the right hand side, you should know that 8 plus 7 is 15. Add on 4 gives you 19. So we carry a little 1 here, add on the 9 here, which is the number 19. You can carry this one underneath if you prefer. I like to put it above, personal preference. Next, we're going to add up the next column. So I've got 5 plus 3 is 8. 8 plus 8 is 16, or double 8 is 16. Add on the 1 gives me 17. So again, I'm going to carry a 1 and the 7 goes underneath. Then I'm left with 1 plus 1, which is 2. So I've got the number 279. So we know there are 279 ice creams here. So 279 plus this missing gap here for the strawberry has got to give me 402. So to work out what is missing, we have to do the opposite to add, which is subtract. So 402, which is my total here, take away the 279 that I've just worked out. For doing this method, it will give you 1 mark. So for adding the values together and then taking it from 402 is 1 mark. And then your final mark comes for your answer. So we've got to do the right hand side first. So we've got to do 2 take away 9. Now you should be thinking, I can't go into negative, so I can't do 2 take away 9. So we need to borrow from the next number here. Now the next number is a 0, so there's nothing to borrow from the 0, so I've actually got to borrow from the 4. So I'm going to cross the 4 out and write a 3, and I'm going to borrow a 10. So I've got a 1 here to make this the number 10. Now I've got a 10, I can borrow from my 10. Take 1 from 10 gives me 9, so I'm left with a 9 here, and then I can add a 10 to the right hand side. So I've now got the number 12 take away 9. Now 12 take away 9 is 3. 9 take away 7 is 2. And 3 take away 2 is 1. Remember to write your answer in the box provided. In the exam, these squares will be larger and you'll be able to write your digits into each individual square. So make sure you use the squares to help you set your work out to make it nice and clear. Give yourself a big tick if you got this correct. There are alternative methods to be able to show you to do this question. I've just shown you the way that I would approach the question by adding up all the values of the flavours you've been given so far. Take it from the total to give you the answer of 123. The mark scheme on this question shows there are 2M, which means 2 marks. Now you get 2 marks if you got the answer of 123. That is whether you've got working there or not working. You do really need to do working in order to be able to get the answer. So adding together the 3 numbers gave you 279 as I just showed you. Take that from 402, gives you the 123. Or if you've made a mistake when you add these numbers up and then take that value away from 402, you will still get a method mark for doing your working correctly. So you had the correct method, but you've made a mistake somewhere. So this error here means you're allowed to make a mistake as long as you're showing the working. So it's really important you show your working as it's said next to the question to make sure you get the full marks. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question looking at a horizontal chart. The key words in the question are we've got to work out the lowest temperature. We've also got to find the difference between the highest and lowest temperatures on Wednesday. So you can see here we have got a chart which is horizontally. So you've got the days of the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday and Friday, and then the temperatures are written along the bottom. Now the unit is given and it's also given in the answer, so you don't need to worry about the units. And each answer needs to be written in the box, and the first part is worth 1 mark and the second part is also worth 1 mark, so 2 marks in total. Now remember, you've got your number scale written here, so you've got 0 going all the way up to 8 on the right and then going down to left, on the left down to -8. So you're going to look at these scales here and work out the lowest temperature and then the difference. Now the key facts in the question The word lowest means the smallest, the word highest means the largest, and the difference means subtract. So take away the highest value, take away the lowest value. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Well done, guys. Hopefully you've managed to get yourself an answer. So to start with, we're going to look at the lowest temperature. So if you look down here, we've got temperatures here. On a Thursday, we've got 6, which is my maximum temperature, but we're looking for the lowest. So we're looking down here, which is the lowest bar. So we can draw a line across here, which takes me to the lowest bar, which is the lowest temperature on Tuesday and on Friday. So looking at the number scale, I've got 0, then it goes to -2 or -2. So in between there is -1. So we're counting down in negative ones. So 0, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5, -6. So this missing number here is -7, which is the answer you need to write in the first box. Remember, the negative always comes in front of the 7. The second part of the question wants to know the difference between highest and lowest temperatures on Wednesday. So we need to find Wednesday. So we need to identify the lowest temperature, which is at this point here. So we can count 0, -1, -2, -3, -4, -5. So the lowest temperature is -5. And the largest temperature is 0, 1, 2, 3. So it's got a value of 3. So we're working out the difference between -5 and +3. So that is the same as doing 3 take away -5. Now some of you will be able to work out that the two negatives here together is the same as a positive. So two negatives make a positive. So that's the same as doing 3 plus 5, which gives you an answer of 8, which needs to go in the box here. Some of you will find that difficult to work out the negative take away a negative. So basically the question wants to know the difference. What is the gap between these two values here? So if I start at the -5 and count on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, I get the same answer as I've just worked out here. So some of you will like to do it in terms of numbers. Some of you just like to count the gap on the diagram. Either way will give you the 1 mark in the exam. Give yourself a big tick if you got them correct. Well done. Great work. The mark scheme on this question shows that you get -7 is 1M, which means 1 mark, and 8 for the second mark, also 1M. On the right hand side it says do not accept a 7 with a minus afterwards, or you're not allowed to accept a -8. So if you wrote that it was -8 because you did it the opposite way round, then you're not allowed the -8. If you started with the higher number and then went down to the lower number, you can't get the negative value, and the negative has to come in front on the first part. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. In this question, we're going to be looking at a number problem, and we're going to be looking at some keywords in the question. So we've got a total of 234,869. 80,978 people attended match 1. 72,319 attended match 2. And you've got to work out how many people attended match 3. So these are the keywords in the question. And this is worth 2 marks in the exam. And on the left-hand side, it says you must show your method. Now this question is very similar to question 5 with the ice cream. So look back at my question 5 to see the method for that one, because it's set out in a table, but it's exactly the same method, but the numbers here are significantly larger than in question 5. The method is exactly the same. The key fact that you need is that the word total means add. How many are there? So this is how many there are. This is your total, so this is what you've got all together. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work. Well done, guys. So hopefully you've managed to realise that you need to add together the total amounts of match 1 and match 2. Now there are different ways that you can do this, and you could start with your total and subtract the amount for match 1 and then subtract the amount for match 2. It will give you exactly the same answer, but by doing that you have got 2 subtractions to do, whereas this way you've got an addition to do followed by a subtraction, which makes it slightly easier. So we're going to do the adding first, and then we're going to take this number answer we get from the total to work out how many people attended match 3. So we start on the right hand side of the sum. 8 plus 9, so double 8 is 16, add on 1 gives me 17, so 8 plus 9 is 17. We carry the 1 up here and the 7 goes underneath. I've got 7 plus 1 is 8, add another 1 is 9, gets written underneath. 9 plus 3 is 12, so we carry the 1 and a 2 goes underneath. 2 plus 1 is 3. 8 plus 7 is 15. So this is my number, 153,297. So I've got to take this number from the total number of people, because I know the total of match 1 and match 2 is this number here. And if I take that away from the total, that will tell me how many is left in match 3. Now, by adding the numbers together and then taking them away from the total will give you 1 method mark. The second mark comes from getting the correct answer. Again, we start on the right hand side. So 9 take away 7 is 2. 6 take away 9 we can't do, so we've got to borrow from the 8. So I cross the 8 out, write it as a 7, and I'm going to borrow a 10 in front of the 6, making this 16. So I've got 16 take away 9, which is 7. I've got 7 take away 2, which is 5. 4 take away 3, which is 1. 3 take away 5 I can't do, so I've got to borrow from the 2. So I'm going to cross that out, make it a 1, and borrow 1 here. So I've got 13 take away 5, which is 8. And then 1 take away 1 is 0. I need to write my answer in the box provided. Remember, when you get to your thousands, you put a comma after the digit for the thousands. So this is 81,000, 572. If you don't write the comma, you won't be marked as being wrong. But make sure your comma is a small little comma and it doesn't look like a 1 or another number, so it doesn't get confused with the actual answer. If you got it right, give yourself a big tick. Well done. Okay, great work, guys. The mark scheme on this question shows there are 2 marks, 2M, for getting the correct answer of 81,572. You will get 1 mark if you added together your 2 values and tried to take it away from the total, or doing the total take away match 1 and then take away match 2, or setting it out in this notation, doing it the opposite way around, the total take away match 2, take away match 1. Doesn't matter the order you do it in. As long as you have shown you're working, you can get a method mark. It's really important to show you're working when you're told to. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on rounding. The key words in the question are we've got to round the number to the nearest 1,000, to the nearest 100 and to the nearest 10, and this is going to be worth 2 marks in the exam. The key facts are that we need to look at the digit to the right of the place value given. So in the first case we're to the thousands, so we look at the thousands column and we look to the right of the thousands column. Then we look at this number here. If it is 5 or more, we round the number up to the left up by 1. If it is 4 or less, we keep the number the same, so this number here will stay the same. So you've got to look at the number which is 1 to the right of the value that you're looking at. So for the first case of 1,000, you look to the right of this. If it's bigger than 5, it will take this number to the left up by 1. If it is 4 or less, then it will stay exactly the same. And that's how we round any single value. You need to make sure you put zeros in place to keep the value exactly the same. So the first answer here will have 3 zeros at the end. The second answer will have 2 zeros. And the last answer will have 1 zero afterwards. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Well done, guys. Hopefully you managed to come up with some great answers. Great work. Well done. So we're going to look at this first one here to the nearest 1,000. So this is my thousands column here. So I'm going to look at the number to the right, which is the 5. Now 5 is 5 or greater, which means this number to the left, the 7, has got to go up by 1. So we're going to make the 7 into an 8, all the other digits are going to become zeros. So the answer is 8,000. So we looked at this 5 here. The 5 tells us that we're going to round up because it is greater than 5. So the 7 becomes an 8. All the numbers afterwards are 0, like in the question here has got zeros. 3 zeros in the question, 3 zeros in the answer. So the answer is 8,000. To the nearest 100, we're going to look at the hundreds column. So we've got the thousands and we've got the hundreds. So we're going to look at the hundreds column and we look at the digit to the right, which is the 4. The 4 is 4 or smaller. So that means the number to the left does not change. So this 5 stays still. So the 7 stays exactly the same. The 5 is now going to stay exactly the same because the 4 tells us that the 5 is going to stay the same. And the last 2 digits become 0 because there are 2 zeros on the end here. So it is 7,500. If you get 2 of these answers correct, you will get 1 mark. The last one, we've got to round to the nearest 10. So I've got my thousands column, I've got my hundreds column, I've got my tens column. So when I'm looking at my tens, I look at the ones column, which is the 6. Is it 5 or bigger? Yes, it is. So that means the number to the left, which is the 4, has got to increase by 1. So this becomes a 5. And then I'll have a 0 on the last number on the end. So my answer is 7,550. Because the 7 doesn't change, the 5 doesn't change, the 6 will make the 4 become a 5, and the last digit now becomes a 0. Give yourself a big tick if you got these correct. It is really crucial that you know how to round values to different values, either to the nearest 1,000, 100, tens, and even decimal places. So make sure you know how to round. The mark scheme on this question shows there are 2M, which means 2 marks for getting the correct answers, which are in the boxes here as shown. If the answer is correct, award 1 mark for any 2 of the answers being done correctly. So if you get 2 of these done correctly, you will get 1 mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on multiplication. The key word of the question is the word complete. Basically, you have got to work out what is the answer in this box here. And this is going to give you 1 mark. Now, our key facts to help us answer this question are that if we're multiplying by 1,000, all the digits will move 3 places to the left. So the number's going to get bigger. So each of these digits are going to go 3 places to the left. If I multiply by 10, the digits move 1 place to the left. Have a go at working out the calculation on the left, then see if you can work out what is going to be in the box on the right hand side. Press pause while you think about your answer and get it written down, then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Well done guys, hopefully you've managed to come up with a great answer. So to start with, we're going to look at the left hand side. I've got 1,000 times by 416. So I'm going to move the digits 3 places to the left. So the 4 is going to move over 1, 2, 3 places. Each of these digits are going to move over 3 places. As they move over 3 places, that means there's going to be 3 gaps at the end. So you need to put 3 zeros on the end. So I've got 4,116,000. So the 4 started here and it's gone 1, 2, 3 places. The 1 started here, it's gone 1, 2, 3 places to the left. The 6 started here, it's gone 1, 2, 3 places to the left. Now when you do multiply by 1,000 and there are no decimal points involved, you can literally just stick 3 zeros on the end. Now that is the answer to the left hand side. Now 10 times some number has got to give me the answer 416,000. So when I multiply a number by 10, all the digits move 1 place to the left. So basically, I've got to do the opposite to times by 10. I'm going to divide by 10. So if I divide this number by 10, the digits are all going to move 1 place to the right. So if all the digits move 1 place to the right, the 4 becomes here, the 1 becomes to the right, the 6 goes here, this 0 goes down, this 0 goes down, and then the 0 on the end goes the opposite side of the decimal point, so it just disappears. So the answer in the box is 41,600, and this will give you 1 mark in the exam. So you need to know that if I do 10 times by this number, I basically add a 0 onto the end of this number, I get the same answer as what I've got here. So there are different ways of thinking about this, whether you think about doing the number we've got here, 416,000 divided by 10, or what number do I multiply 10 by to get 416,000? Either way will give you the correct answer. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 41,600. 1M means one method mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question linked to money. The key words of the question, but we are told we've got 4 pens and a ruler and the total cost is £4.75. Then if I have 2 pens, the cost is £1.98. So you can see the 2 pens here. And you've been asked, how much does a ruler cost? Now on the left hand side of the box it says you must show your method. That means you must show the numbers that you're adding or subtracting or multiplying or dividing. Whatever calculations are going on in your head needs to get written down on this box here. The question is worth 2 marks and you need to write your final answer in the box provided. The key facts. The word buy means add up the total. So when you're buying something, when you're going shopping, you've got to add together all the items. So if I add together these 4 pencils plus the ruler, I add up all those values, it gives me £4.75. Altogether is a total. So altogether is the total cost of all the pens plus the ruler. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Great work, guys. Hopefully you've managed to come up with an answer. So to start with, you're told that 2 pens are £1.98. So these 2 pens here together are £1.98. So that means up here, these 2 pens cost £1.98. And also, these 2 pens cost £1.98. So I'm going to add together these two £1.98s to give me the total for how much I've spent on pens. So on the right hand side, I'm going to add up the right hand side first. So 8 plus 8 is 16. So carry the 1 and put a 6 underneath. 9 plus 9 plus 1. Well, 9 plus 1 is 10. Add on the 9 gives me 19. So I carry the 1 and put a 9 down here. 1 plus 1 plus 1 is 3. And the decimal point stays in the same place. So the 4 pens altogether cost £3.96. You could have done £1.98 times by 2, or double £1.98, or you could have doubled £2, which is £4. Now £1.98 is 2 pence less than £2. So then if I double it, I'm 4 pence less than the £4. So £4, take away the 4 pence gives me the £3.96. So you could have done it in your head without having to do any working out. It's personal preference whether you prefer to add, multiply, or round the value and then take the amount off. There are different ways to get this answer of £3.96. Whatever works for you, use the method that you're comfortable with. Now we're told the total cost is £4.75. So I've got to take this £4.75, take away the cost of the pens, and that will tell me how much this ruler costs. So I'm doing £4.75, take away the total cost of the pens. And if we do this method by adding these values or doubling them, taking it from £4.75, that will give you 1 method mark for showing your working. On the right hand side, we're going to start. So 5 take away 6 we can't do. So I need to borrow from the 7. So I'm going to cross that out and make it a 6. I'm going to borrow the 10 to make this number 15. 15 take away 6 is 9. 6 take away 9 I can't do, so I've got to borrow from the 4, cross it out and make it a 3. So I'm going to put a 10 in front of the 6, making it 16. 16 take away 9 is 7. The decimal point stays in place. Then I've got 3 take away 3 is 0. Now we've got to write our answer in the box here. So I've got an answer of 0.79, which means £0.79. We can write that with a pound symbol at the front, 0.79, or you could have written 79 pence. Both answers would be correct. So it doesn't matter whether you wrote your answer in pounds or whether you wrote your answer in pence, because it just says how much does the ruler cost, and it is 79 pence or £0.79. The mark scheme on this question shows there are 2M, which means 2 method marks for getting the final answer correct. The answer is 79 pence, or in pounds, £0.79. Either answer is acceptable. Then you get 1 mark for showing you're working. So either doing £4.75, take away £1.98, and then taking the £1.98 away again, or doing the £1.98 or 198 pence times by 2. So doubling it, then taking that from the £4.75. You are allowed to get an error mark for working in pounds and pence incorrectly. Or this is the last method by doubling £2, which gives you £4, just for rounding, rather than doing the exact amount and then taking that away, and then you've got to then add on the 4p extra. Whichever way helps you work out the answer. It doesn't really matter which method you use. You choose one that works for you. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a number problem. Now this question is fairly wordy, so make sure you read the question really carefully to make sure you get a grip with what you've actually got to do. Now the key words in the question are that we've got a whole number. You're told that it's multiplied by 4, the answer is less than 100. When the same number is multiplied by 5, the answer is greater than 100. And you've got to write down a number that could have been chosen to start with. So you've got to find one number. Now there could be more than one answer for this. Any correct answer will give you the 1 mark in the exam. And you need to remember to write your answer in the box provided. Now the key facts. A whole number is a number such as 1, 2, 3, 4. Any of these numbers is a whole number. Multiplies by means times, so it means in the multiplication times table of, so in the 4 times table here. Less than means a number smaller than the number given, so a number less than 100 is a number smaller than 100. Greater than means a number larger than 100. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work, guys, well done. So hopefully you've managed to get an answer and you've written it in your box. So to start with, we're going to think about a number that multiplies by 4 and the answer is less than 100. Now because 100 is the key number here, we're actually going to start with a number 100 and we're going to divide this number 100 by 4. Because if I multiply it by 4, the answer's got to be less than 100. So if I start off with 100 and I'm going to divide it by 4, that gives me a good starting point. Now to divide by 4 in your head, the easiest way to do it is to halve the number and then halve it again. So a half of 100 is 50, half of 50 is 25, which is why 100 divided by 4 is 25. Next, we've got to multiply a number and the answer's got to be bigger than 100. Now obviously, if I started with the number 25, I multiplied it by 4, the answer is 100, so it's not less than 100. If I multiply it by 5, it's obviously going to be bigger than 100. So 25 is not the number they're looking for because it gives you the answer of 100, not less than 100. So I'm going to pick a number smaller than 25. So I'm going to take 1 from 25 and I'm going to pick 24. So if I multiply 24 by 4, I can see I get the answer of 96. Now to do this in your head without a calculator, remember when you multiply by 4, it's the same as doubling and doubling again. So double 24 is 48, double 48, double 40 is 80, double 8 is 16, 80 plus 16 gives me the 96, which is less than 100. So it meets the requirement. I'm now going to try and times this same number 24 by 5. So I've got to do 24 times by 5 and see if this is greater than 100. Now to multiply by 5 easily in your head, the easiest way to do it is to multiply by 10 and half, because 10 divided by 2 is 5. So if I multiply 24 by 10 by adding a 0 on the end, gives me 240. Half 240 gives me 120. Now 120 is greater than 100, so the answer we're looking for is this number here, 24. Now there could have been other numbers, okay, and as long as you wrote any correct number, you would get the answer correct. And I'll show you which answers are correct on the mark scheme. The answer I've gone for is the number 24, and I'll give you my reasons why I went for that number. Make sure that you can multiply by 4 and multiply by 5 easily in your head. If you need to do it the written way and show all your working, that is absolutely fine. You will still get the mark for it in the exam. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer could be 21, 22, 23 or 24. So any one of those answers would give you 1 mark. 1M means 1 mark. So any one of these answers here is correct. It doesn't matter which one of these numbers you wrote down, you will get the answer correct. Just say do not accept decimals because it did say a whole number, so make sure you choose any one of these whole numbers. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a number problem, and there are a few words on this question, so you need to make sure you read the words carefully so you understand exactly what you have got to do. So you've got a little boy here, and he says he's got a rule for the diagram. So you can see in the diagram you've got 2 circles and you've got a square in the middle. Now he says if you find the difference between the 2 numbers in the circle, okay, so these 2 numbers in the circle, you've got to find the difference between them. So that means subtract. So for example, in this case here, 20 take away 5 is 15. Then he says, if I double this number here, I get the number in the square. So we've just said 20 take away 5 is 15. Double 15 is 30, and that's the number that's gone in the square. So he's done an example here to show you how it works. You have now got to use the same rule and work out the missing numbers in the boxes. So in this square box here and in the circle down here, each answer will give you 1 mark for each correct answer. Now your key facts are that you need to know that the word difference means subtract and the word double means multiply by 2 or times by 2. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Well done guys, hopefully you've managed to get an answer in the square and in the circle here. Fantastic work. So to start with, we're going to look at the top example here, and it says we've got to do the difference between the 2 numbers. So that means I've got to subtract 100, take away 32. So you should know your number bonds up to 100. If you struggle, do 100, take away 30, which gives you 70. Take away 2, gives you 68. Then, once you've got this value here, you have then got to double the number. So we've got to double 68, which means multiply it by 2, or you could do 68 plus 68 if you prefer. Now, double 60 is 120. Double 8 is 16. So you've got to do 120 plus 16, which will give you 136. You need to write the answer in the box. Now, some children will be able to just know how to do 168 times by 2 in their head. Other children will have to write down how to get the answer. There is space around the diagram to write your working out down. Even though it's worth 1 mark, write down what you're thinking in order to be able to help you to get the answer 136. The last one here is working backwards. So we're starting with the number 400, and then we've got to work out what's in the circle. So instead of multiplying by 2, we're going to do the opposite. So the opposite to multiply by 2 is divide by 2. So I'm going to start off with 400 and I'm going to halve it. So half of 4 is 2, so half of 400 is 200. Then the difference between these 2 numbers here has got to be 200. So that means if I take my 110 plus my 200, which is the difference between them, that will give me the answer in the box here, in the circle. So 200 plus 110, 200 plus 100 is 300, the 10 just remains, so your answer is 310 for your second mark on this question. Give yourself a big tick if you got this correct. Great work, well done. The mark scheme on this question says the first part is worth 1 mark, And the second part is also worth 1 mark. But beware, there were 2 answers you could get for the second answer. Now I showed you how to get the answer of 310, but if you'd have started off with 110 and taken away the 200, you would have got minus 90. Now that is the more difficult answer to get. Either of these 2 answers are correct. It doesn't matter which route you went down. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on adding or subtracting fractions. Now within paper 1 you have to do lots of adding and subtracting fractions, and you become very good at adding and subtracting fractions. But on paper 3 you get questions which are a little bit different to how you see them written in paper 1. But just because it's written differently doesn't mean to say it is any harder or any different to what you actually have to do on paper 1. So the key words are that there's a missing fraction. So this box here has got a fraction in it that is missing. And you've got to work out what the missing fraction is to make the addition correct. So 2/3 plus something is going to equal 5/6. And this is going to give you 1 mark in the exam. Now remember, the key facts for adding or subtracting fractions. You need to follow a few steps. First of all, you need to find your common denominator. Now, if you look at the denominators here, they are different. So the common denominator has got to be the same, and generally it's the higher number, or it might be a combination of both of the 2 numbers. But as the answer is over 6, the common denominator is likely to be 6 in this case here. Then you're going to use equivalent fractions. So you need to convert this first fraction here into an equivalent fraction, which is the same as 2/3, but the fraction is now going to be over 6. Then you need to either add or subtract your numerators, depending on whether it's an adding or subtracting question. The denominators will stay the same, and then you will convert to a mixed fraction if relevant, and then cancel your fraction again if relevant. So the last 2 stages here are not actually applicable in this case, but they may be on a different question. Press pause, have a go at working out the answers. Now you know these steps here. Press play when you've got yourself an answer. Well done guys, hopefully you've managed to have a really good go at doing this question here. So to start with, we're going to find the common denominator. So the number that 3 and 6 both go into is 6. So we've got to convert this 2/3 to be a fraction over 6. So if I draw out 6 sections here, I'm going to look at 2/3 of them. Now 2/3, this is 1/3, 2/3, so 1 section, 2 section to make the 2/3. So 2/3 of the section are going to be 4 squares coloured in. So that means 4/6 is equivalent to 2/3. So I could say 4/6 plus some missing value is going to equal 5/6, because the question says 2/3 plus something is going to equal to 5/6, and we've got to work out what this question mark is. So 4/6 plus something, and it's going to be over 6, has got to equal 5/6. So if you look at your diagram, we've already got 4 of them coloured in, and we need to make 5/6. You should be able to see from looking at your diagram what the missing value is going to be. If you're struggling to see it, we can think about, well, what is the opposite to adding? Okay, because I want to get this question mark on its own. So the opposite to adding 4/6 is going to be subtracting 4/6. So I've actually got 5/6 take away 4/6. So that eliminates this plus 4/6 on the left-hand side. I'm going to take it to the other side and make it a subtract. Now I'm just going to subtract the numerators. So 5 take away 4 is 1. So my answer is going to be 1/6, and that needs to get written in the box up the top. Remember, if you look at the diagram, 4 out of 6 is already coloured in, and we want to make it 5/6, so you actually only need to colour in 1 more square to make it 5/6. Now there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 out of 6 squares coloured in, so my answer is 1/6. If you got this correct, give yourself a big tick. Great work. Well done. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 1/6. 1M means 1 method mark. It does say on the right hand side that accept equivalent fractions or any exact decimal. So 0.16 recurring, which means 0.166666 with loads of 6 afterwards, will be given as a correct answer. It is unlikely that you will get the decimal equivalent rather than the fraction. I would have thought most children can get the answer of 1/6, and this knowing that 1/6 is the same as 0.16 recurring is significantly harder than dealing with the fraction of 1/6. It does say do not allow or do not accept rounded or truncated decimals. So that means if you wrote the answer of 0.2 or 0.16 or 0.167, any of those answers, it is not accepted. So truncated means literally just chop off the last digit, so 0.1. Rounding just means you'd round up to 0.2. Please do not round, otherwise you will not get the answer correct. You have to give an exact answer. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question using a formula. Now the key words in the question are that you've been given this formula here. This is the key bits of information you need, that the total cost is equal to £15 for the booking fee plus £12.50 per hour. So that means for every hour you have the hall for this party, it's going to cost you £12.50. And for the privilege of just using the hall, it's going to cost you £15 booking fee. That will give you the total cost. So you've got to work out the total cost of hiring the hall from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. and this will give you 1 mark. Remember to write your answer in the box provided. So your key fact is that we're going to be using a formula. You need to substitute in the values that are given. So the value that you're going to be given is the time. So you've got to work out the time the party is going to be on for. So it's £12.50 for every hour. So work out how many hours it's for, then add on your booking fee to work out the total cost. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear an answer. Fantastic work, guys. Well done. So we're going to look at the time. So the party is from 6 p.m. till 11 p.m, which means the total time of the party is going to be 11, take away 6, which is 5 hours. So this party is lasting for 5 hours. So it's £12.50 for 1 hour. So we've got to work out the cost for 5 hours. So that means I've got to do £12.50 times by 5. Now to multiply by 5 easily in your head without using a calculator is the same as multiplying by 10 and halving, because 10 divided by 2 is 5. So if I multiply this number by 10 and halve it, that will give me the answer to multiplying by 5. If you prefer to write £12.50 times 5 underneath and then do it as a traditional way of multiplying the two numbers together, that is absolutely fine and it will give you the same answer. I'm going to do it by multiplying by 10 and then halving it. So when we multiply by 10, all the digits move one place to the left, which means I've got 125. So all the decimal pointers move one place to the right. So 125 is this number multiplied by 10. Then a half of 125 will give me my answer. So a half of 120 is 60. A half of £5 is £2.50. So 60 plus the £2.50 gives me £62.50. Again, you can write this down if you need to see it written down to help you. Now we know that it's going to cost £62.50 for this section of the formula, and there is a £15 booking fee, and it says we've got to add them together. So I've got to do my £62.50 plus on the £15 booking fee. So 60 plus 10 gives me 70. 2 plus 5 gives me 7. So my final answer is £77.50 for the 1 mark. Give yourself a big tick if you got this correct. Great work, everyone. Well done. The mark scheme on this question says the answer is £77.50. Now it says refer to section 6.1 on page 14 and 15 for additional guidance for money. So this is the additional guidance that is given. It says what forms are accepted and what forms are not accepted. So because the pound sign was given in the answer box, any of these forms here will be accepted for the answer. These ones over here will not be accepted. So make sure you write your answer in an acceptable form rather than the non-accepted form. And this will give you 1 mark in the exam. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on finding a missing angle and working out the angle turned. So we have got Stefan who stands in the centre of the circle. So here is the circle in the middle and this is where he's going to stand. He is facing F. So this is corner F in the bottom right hand corner. So this is where he is facing. He stood in the middle looking at F. He turns anti-clockwise to face D, which is the corner up here in the top right. And you've got to find out what angle Stefan turns through. You've got to write your answer in the box here to say how many degrees. So that's the angle. So the angle is measured in degrees. And this will give you 1 mark in the exam. So you've got to work out how far it is from F all the way round to D. If you're stood in the middle, imagine standing at the front, turning through that angle. What is the angle between F and D? So our key facts. We need to know what the word clockwise means. Okay, because we've got told that it turns anti-clockwise. So we need to know which direction clockwise is. So clockwise is the directions the hand move on a clock. So you can see up here my clock is going round. So if the direction is moving round this way to the right, then this is clockwise. So if I start at F and I move round to the right in this direction here, I'm going round clockwise. But we're actually turning anti-clockwise. So anti-clockwise is the opposite direction to clockwise. So these hands are moving round to the right. If I go round to the left, this is anti-clockwise, going the opposite direction to the hands moving. So that is starting here and going round in this direction. This is anti-clockwise. Now you're starting at F and you've got to end up at the point D. So remember you're stood in the middle and you're going anti-clockwise. You need to know that 180 degrees is a straight line. So between the top and the bottom, between C and G, is 180 degrees. So this is a straight line, so that would be 180 degrees between those. And 90 degrees is a right angle. So if you had between C and E, for example, here is a right angle. So between these 2 points here, or the bottom 2 here, you've got a right angle between any of these two, which form a cross. So between like 1, 2 sections forms a right angle. But you've got to work out the angle he turns going from F and ending up at D. How many degrees is it between F and D? Press pause, think about the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Great work. Hopefully you've managed to work out the angle between F and D. Is the angle going in this direction here? Now, as I said earlier, if I go between C and E, you can clearly see this is a right angle here, and this is between 2 of the sections. Now, between any 2 sections, you have got 90 degrees. So between B and D, you have got 90 degrees. Between A and C is 90 degrees. Between H and B is 90 degrees. Between any 2 sections, you have always got a right angle because it is set up in a square. So all these angles here, the look at the cross here, forms right angles, and then the diagonals, okay, are also going to form crosses, and they're going to be 90 degrees. So that means between F and D is the angle here in the middle. So we've got to look at this angle here in the middle. This is what we're trying to work out. And between any 2 sections, we know the angle is going to be 90 degrees. So you just need to write 90 in your box, and that will give you 1 mark in the exam. So the key thing here is to make sure you work out which way you're facing, what anti-clockwise means, and where you're ending up. And you need to know that between 4 of the sections is 180, and between 2 of the sections is 90. So the answer was 90 that you were looking for. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Well done. Great work. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is 90, which is worth 1 M, which means 1 method mark. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on looking at an angle turned in the diagram given below. Now the key words are that we're told that Stefan stands in the centre of this circle. which is in the centre of a square. We're told he now is facing towards D, so he's looking at this corner here in the top right hand corner at D. He's standing in the middle looking out at D. And we're told that he turns 3 right angles clockwise. So you've got to work out what a right angle is, and we've got to do 3 right angles, and we've got to work out the direction clockwise, and then we've got to write down what letter he's facing after he has turned. And this is going to be worth 1 mark in the exam. So our key facts, we first of all need to know what the word clockwise means. So clockwise is the direction the hands are moving, going round this way to the right. So in our diagram here, anything moving round to the right is clockwise. So that's what we're going to be doing in this question here, because it says clockwise. If it had said anti-clockwise, it means going the opposite direction to clockwise. So that would have been going round to the left for anti-clockwise. Now you need to know that 180 degrees is a straight line, and you also need to know that 90 degrees is equal to a right angle, and you're told we have got 3 right angles. So 90 degrees is like the corner of a square, so if it comes up to a corner or a point like this, you have got a right angle. So you can see 180 will be between C and G, so all the way around, halfway is 180, and between C and E is going to be 90 degrees because that is forming a right angle on the square. Now between any of these perpendiculars, so between C and G and A and E, we're getting right angles forming, going round the centre here, so these are all going to be right angles. And when you're crossing from the corners of a square, you're also getting right angles formed as well. Okay, so you will also be getting right angles formed coming around the edge here. Now you're going to be starting facing D, you're going to be turning clockwise, so you need to work out which way clockwise is, and then you've got to do 3 right angles. Remember, a right angle is 2 of these little sections here, it will be 1 right angle. After you've turned 3 right angles, where is he facing? Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work guys, hopefully you've managed to get yourself an answer. So we're starting off facing D and we're going clockwise. So when we go clockwise, we're going round to the right. So we're going round in this direction here. So 1 right angle will take me to F. Then I've got to do another right angle, which is 2 more sections. That will take me to H. And my 3rd right angle, coming round here, will take me round to B. So B is your answer. Give yourself a big tick if you wrote B. Well done, you've got the answer correct. So make sure you know the key facts, which are the word clockwise and right angle in this question. Make sure you understand what the definitions of those mean to help you answer the question. Great work, well done. The mark scheme on this question shows the answer is B. 1M means 1 method mark. It does say accept alternative unambiguous indication of the correct corner answer. So for example, if you'd circled B on the diagram rather than writing B in the box, you would have been allowed that to be correct. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on equivalent fractions, and you're told that you have got a 10 by 10 grid and you have got to tick the fractions, so of the list below here, but represent the shaded part in the grid. So here is my shaded sections, and you've got to work out which of these down here are the same as the shaded part in this diagram up here. This is worth 2 marks in your exam. The key facts you need to be able to answer this question are that you need to know that the shaded fraction is the total number of shaded squares divided by the total number of squares. And once you've got that fraction, you can then cancel that fraction down by dividing your numerator, which is the number on the top, and the denominator, which is the number underneath, by the same number, and that will cancel your fraction and give you an equivalent fraction, which is what you've been asked to do over here. Have a go at working out what is the shaded fraction of this diagram here. Press pause, then press play when you've got yourself an answer. Fantastic work guys, hopefully you've managed to come up with an answer and you've worked out how much is shaded. So to start with, our formula over here says the fraction that is shaded is the total number of shaded. Now we have got a 10 by 10 grid. That means there's 10 across the bottom or the top, and there is 10 down the side. So this is a 10, this lot here is another 10, another 10, and another 10 down here that's shaded. So I've got 10, 20, 30, 40 that are going to be shaded. Now 10 times 10 is 100. So the fraction that is required to start with is 40 over 100 because I've got 40 and 100 is the total. Now once you've got 40 over 100, you've then got to work out which one of these fractions up here or more is going to be exactly the same as 40 over 50. So we've got to cancel this fraction. So we need to divide the numerator, which is the top number, and the denominator, which is the bottom number, by the same number. Now when both numbers end in a 0, the easiest thing to cancel with is dividing both numbers by 10. Now 40 divided by 10 is 4, just get rid of a 0. 100 divided by 10 is just 10, get rid of a 0 here, so I can get rid of these n2 zeros, which leaves me with 4 over 10, which is this fraction here. Now if you got these two correct and didn't write any other ones, you would get 1 mark. But there is one more that is also equivalent to 4 over 10. Now if we look at the fraction 4 over 10, we're going to cancel this fraction down. So what number goes into 4? That also goes into 10. So the only number that goes into 4 and 10 are both the number 2. So 4 divided by 2 is 2, and 10 divided by 2 is 5, which is this fraction here, 2 over 5, and this is your second mark for getting this point here. Now 2 over 5, okay, cannot cancel down, so you cannot halve 2 to get 1 and halve 5 to get 4. That doesn't work, so you've got to do exactly the same to both, and you can't have a decimal in here, so 2 over 5 is as low as this fraction goes. So 1/4 is not the same as 2/5. And 6 over 10 can't be the same as 4 over 10 because that means for every 4 that is coloured here out of 10, but this is saying every 6 out of 10 is coloured, so these two are totally different. So you've got to identify which ones of these are correct. Okay, so this one, first one here is fairly easy to get. Divided by 10 takes you to here. Divide by 2 takes you to this one, and these are the 3 that need to be identified. Give yourself a big tick if you got those correct. Great work, well done. The mark scheme on this question shows there are up to 2m, which means 2 marks. So you get 2 marks for getting the 3 fractions correct that we indicated earlier. Now you get 1 mark if 2 boxes are ticked correctly and no incorrected box, or you get 3 boxes ticked correctly and 1 incorrect box ticked. So there are 2 different options for being able to get 1 mark depending on what you've done. So make sure you have a look and see how many marks you would have got in the actual exam. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on perimeter. Now the word perimeter is actually not used in this question, but this is basically what you have to do to be able to answer the question. So the key facts of the question, you're told you've got a cuboid, which is the shape here that you can see in the diagram, and you're told that the straws are 7.5 centimetres for the height, which is this distance here, so the vertical ones are 7.5. They're 11 centimetres for the length, so the distance along the bottom is 11 centimetres. And 8.5 centimetres for the width, so the distance back is 8.5 centimetres. You've got to work out the total length of the straws in the model. This is going to be worth 2 marks in the exam, and you need to write your answer in the box provided. So the key fact that you need to know to be able to answer this question is that you need to know what this word total means. So in this case, total means add together all the sides. So you need to add together all these different sides that you can see, all the straws that you can see. If you add them all together, then you need to write your answer in this box here. Press pause, have a go at working out all the answers added together, so all those numbers added up. Press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Fantastic work, well done guys. So there are multiple ways in which you can add these numbers together, and it is what works for you. As long as you can get the right answer and you write it in the box, it doesn't matter which method you use as long as you get the right answer. So the one I've chosen to use is to first of all look at the height. So I know that this distance over here is 7.5, which means that this distance here is 7.5. And further back I've got another 7.5 and I've got another 7.5 here. So I have got 1, 2, 3, 4 lots of 7.5. So I'm going to do 7.5 times by 4. Now, if you prefer, you could do 7.5 plus 7.5 plus 7.5 plus 7.5. It will give you the same answer. But multiplying by 4 will give you the quicker way to get the answer. Now, to work out 7.5 by 4 in your head, the easiest way to do it is to do double and then double again. So we're going to double 7.5. So double 7 is 14. Double 0.5 is 1. 14 plus 1 gives me 15. So doubling 7.5 is 15. Now that's multiplying by 2. I now need to multiply by 2 again to get multiplied by 4. So double 15, double 10 is 20. Double 5 is 10. So 10 plus 20 is 30. So 7.5 times by 4 is 30. You can do it a written method if you prefer. So you can put the 4 underneath here, and then you can put the times, and then do 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 7 is 28, plus the 2 gives you the 30. So it will give you exactly the same answer as what we've been looking at before. Remember, put your decimal point in after the 30 to make it 30. We're now going to do a similar thing for the length. So we know the length of the object is 11. So this distance is 11. The next one will be 11. The one at the back will be 11. And the one underneath will also be 11. So again, I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 lots of 11. So that is 11 plus 11 plus 11 plus 11, or 11 times by 4, because I've got 4 lots of them. And you should all know 11 times 4 is 44. Then I've got 8.5 for the width. So I'm going to do a similar thing on the width. So I've got an 8.5 plus an 8.5 plus an 8.5 plus an 8.5, or 8.5 times by 1, 2, 3, 4. So 8.5 times by 4 will give you the distance of these purple ones. So again, to multiply by 4, we're going to double it and double it again. So double 8 is 16, double 1 is 17. So I've now got to double 17. So double 15 we already know is 30. So we've got to double the 2 extra, which is 4. So it's going to give me 34. From here, I have got all the different lengths. So I've got the blue ones, I've got the yellow ones, and I've got the purple ones. So I need to find the total, which means add all these values together. So if you use this method, this will give you 1 mark. So we always start on the right hand side. So 4 plus 4 is 8. 3 plus 3 is 6, plus the 4 gives me 10, because that's a number bond to 10. So the answer in the box to get the second mark is 108. Make sure you've written the answer in the box to get the full 2 marks for the question. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. As I said, this is a perimeter question. The question doesn't actually mention the word perimeter, but that is what you've done in order to be able to work out the answer. So well done, guys. The mark scheme on this question shows lots of different methods. Now the method I used was this first method here, multiplying each of the sides by 4, then adding them together. Or you could have just added up all the values, all the different sides together first, and then multiplied that answer by 4, which will give you the same. Or you could have just done it by adding all these values together. All of these answers are a valid method. Showing any of these methods will give you 1 mark. Getting the correct answer of 108 will give you the second mark. So 2M means 2 method marks, and it says 2 marks here. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on percentage decrease. In this question, the keywords are that we're told that the t-shirt is £15, and this is the full price of the t-shirt, and you can see it here with its price tag on. You're told that the price is reduced by 30%. So there's a sale on and we've got a reduction of 30%. You've got to work out what is the reduced price. And you need to write your answer in the box at the bottom. and this will give you 2 marks in the exam. So our key facts to help us to be able to do this. First of all, you need to find 10% of the amount. So we've got to work out 30%. So first off, we're going to find 10%. And it's always the same to find 10%. Every time we find 10%, we're going to divide the amount by 10. So that means we need to take this £15 here and divide it by 10. Now to divide 15 by 10, the digits move one place to the right, or you can move the decimal point one place to the left. So if I move the digits one place to the left, to the right, the 1 goes into the ones column, the 5 goes into the tenths column, leaving me with 1.5. If you move the decimal point is after the 5 currently, move it one place to the left, it goes between the 1 and the 5, which means we end up with £1.50. Okay, so you'll need to find 10% first. Once you've found 10%, we're now going to work out 30%. So the answer we've just worked out for 10%, we need to multiply that answer by 3, because 10 times by 3 gives me 30%. So the answer you've just worked out up here, you multiply it by 3, gives you 30%. Then we're going to reduce the answer by 30%. So this word reduce means subtract. So this is a discount. So you're going to subtract from the original amount the reduced price from the full amount, and that will tell me what the reduced price is. And remember to write your answer in the box. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Great work, guys. Hopefully you've managed to come up with an answer. So as I discussed earlier, 10% of 15 is going to be 15 divided by 10. The digits move one place to the right each, and that gives me £1.50. I put a 0 on the end because I'm dealing with money. So £1.50 is what I've got here. Now I need to find 30%. So 10% is £1.50. So to find 30%, I've got to multiply it by 3. So 1 times by 3 is 3. 50 pence times by 3. 5 times 3 is 15. So 15, add on the 0 is 150 pence, which is the same as £1.50. So I've got £3 plus £1.50, which will give me £4.50 for your first mark. Once we've found 30%, which is £4.50, we've got to take £4.50 from 15. So if I do 15, take away £4, gives me £11. And then £11, take away the 50p, gives me £10.50. And you need to write your answer in the box. Give yourself a big thumbs up and a big tick if you managed to get that correct. Great work, well done. The mark scheme on this question shows there are up to 2m, which means 2 marks. Now, alternative methods are provided on the left-hand side. So if you did 70 times 15 divided by 100, or you did 10 times 15 divided by 100, times that answer by 3, take it from 15, or got the answer of £4.50, any of these would give you 1 mark. To get the full 2 marks, you needed to write your answer to be £10.50. You didn't need to put the pound sign there as it was already written in the answer box for you. So 10.5 is all you needed to write. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a number reasoning question. Now this is quite a wordy question, and you can see here in the speech bubble there's quite a lot of key facts and key words within here. You need to be able to interpret each of these to be able to answer your question, which is going to be worth 1 mark down here. So the key words within this paragraph up here, within the speech bubble, what Jack is saying. You're told you've got to square a prime number, and you're told the answer has only 2 factors. And you've got to explain why Jack is not correct. Now our key facts, okay, this is worth 1 mark, and remember to write the answer in the bubble. So our key facts, but we've got a square number, so we're told when you square, so the word square means times a number by itself. So for example, 1 squared means 1 times 1, which is 1. 2 squared is 2 times 2, which is 4. 3 squared is 3 times 3, which is 9, etc. The next bit is we're squaring a prime number. So a prime number is a number that can only be divided by 1 in itself, and you'll be expected to know what the prime numbers are. Now your first prime number is the number 2, and this is the only even prime number. All the rest of the prime numbers are odd. 1 is not prime because 1 and itself are the same number, so 2 is the smallest prime number. 3 can only be divided by 1 and 3. 5 can only be divided by 1 and 5. 7 can only be divided by 1 and 7, etc. And these are all your prime numbers up to 13. There are more numbers than this, and it does carry on. Then the next part of the question says the answer has only 2 factors. So this word factor, this is a number that goes into another number. Okay, so you need to know what a factor is. So for example, a factor of 10 is 2 because 2 goes into 10 5 times. So 2 and 5 are the factors of that number 10. So you've got to show that it is only 2 factors, and you've got to say why is not correct. So think of a prime number, square it, show that the answer has only 2 factors, or in this case is not correct, so it doesn't have 2 factors, show it's got more or less than 2 factors, and then you've got to write your answer in this bubble here. Press pause, have a go at working out the answer, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Great work, guys. Hopefully you've managed to come up with an answer. So to start with, we're going to think of a prime number. So it could be any prime number from this list here. Then you're going to square that prime number. So I'm going to start with the smallest prime number, 2. I'm now going to square 2. So 2 times 2 is 4. So 4 is my answer, and we've got to show it only has 2 factors. Or Jack says it will only have 2 factors, and we've got to say why is not correct. So the factors are the numbers that go into 4. So 1 times 4 is 4. But we also know 2 goes into 4 because it's a square number. So that means the factors of 4 are the numbers 1, 2 and 4. Now this is 3 factors, 1, 2, 3. So therefore, so these 3 little dots here mean therefore Jack is not correct. So you need to make sure that you have stated a prime number, should square it, and then show that there are more than 2 factors. So there's going to be 3 factors for your answer, and to explain that you're not correct to get the 1 mark. Give yourself a big tick if you got that correct. Great work, well done. The mark scheme on this question shows there's 1 M, which means 1 method mark. You can see it's very wordy on the mark scheme because lots of people can choose lots of different ways to be able to do this. The easiest way to do it is by using a number example to be able to get the answer out. And you've got a few different examples here you could have used. It does say over here, do not accept the reasons which have been given here. So a square number doesn't have 2 factors. A repeat of the question, or 2 squared is 4 and it's not complete, or prime numbers have 2 factors only, again it's not complete. You need to give the full explanation over here to get the full marks. Again, just says do not accept any explanations which include incorrect maths or incorrect information. So they've got 49 is 1, 7, 49. You've got to make sure you've got the correct information here. So like 1, 5, 5 and 25. These are all the numbers that multiply to give 25. And then saying 25 has 4 factors. But actually 25 has got 3 factors because this 5 is repeated. So these are the things not to include. The bits on the left are what to include, which will give you the mark on the exam. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is a question on finding the mean. The key words in the question are you're told that you've got 4 decades, and you can see these 4 decades in the table on the left hand side. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 decades. And you've got to work out the mean of the number of people who finished the marathon, and you've got to round your answer to the nearest 100. Your answer needs to be written in the box here, and then this will give you 3 marks. This is worth a lot of marks in the exam, one of the biggest mark questions on the exam paper, and you need to be able to know the method, and you need to be able to know the steps, and you need to be able to know how to round. So there's lots of marks here. So your key facts. The mean, you need to add up all the values and then divide by how many values there are. So in this case, You need to add up all these numbers and divide by how many values there are, which is the 4 decades which you're told is in the question. So you're going to be dividing by 4. Remember, when you divide by 4, you can halve the number and halve it again, or you can use the bus stop method, whichever works for you. Once you've got that answer, you need to round it to the nearest hundred. So when we're rounding to the nearest hundred, we need to be looking at the tens column. So this is the number here, for example, in the 6. So we've got 6 tens. And if the number is 5 or more, then that means the number in the hundreds column gets rounded up. So in this case here, the 6 is more than 5. So that would make this 8 and 9. So it would end in 900. So 24,900. In this case here, we're looking at the 2. So if I look at the 2 is less than 5. So if it's less than 5, you keep the number the same in the hundreds column. So this would give me 282,400 if I was going to round this to the nearest hundred. So you need to be able to round, and you need to be able to work out the mean, and you need to be able to do it accurately to get the 3 marks on the exam. Have a go at working out the mean. Then round your answer to the nearest hundred, write your answer in the box, and then press play when you're ready to hear the answer. Great work, guys. Hopefully you've managed to get an answer. And remember, it does say on the left-hand side of the box, you must show your method. That means writing down what you are doing to get the answer. So that is what your method is. So to start with, we need to look at these 4 numbers. So we've got 24,863, 170,932, 282,420, 350,824. So we need to write down these 4 numbers here, and we need to add them up. So we're going to start off with the right hand side when we're adding. So we've got 3 plus 2 is 5, plus 0 plus 4 will give me 9, and that gets written underneath. I've got 6 plus 3 is 9, plus 2 is 11, plus another 2 is 13. So we carry the 1 of the 13, the tens, and the 3 gets written underneath. Now we're going to look at these numbers added together. We've got to add all these. Now if we look at them, I know 8 plus 8 is 16. 9 plus the 1 is a number bond to 10, so that's 10. So I've got 16 plus the 10, which is 26, plus the 4 gives me a 30. So I carry the 3 over here and the 0 for 30. Then I've got a 4 plus 2 is 6, plus 3 gives me a 9, so that's just a 9 written underneath. Again, I'm looking for number bonds to 10, so I should know 2 plus 8 is 10, plus 5 is 15, plus the 7, so we could take a 5 to make it to 20. If there's 2 left over, that will give me 22. So the 20 gets carried at the top and the 2 underneath. Then I've got 1 plus 2 is 3, plus 3 is 6, plus 2 gives me 8. So I've got 829,039. Now that is the total of all these numbers here. So you will get a mark for working out the total of all these numbers. Then you've got to divide it by 4. So to find the mean, we've got to divide this number by 4. And for getting the answer to this stage, that will give you your second mark. So I've now got to divide 4 into this number here. So 4 into 8 goes twice, so 2 gets written above the top. Then I've got to do 4 into 2, which doesn't go, so I put a 0, and there are 2 left over, so the little 2 carries. I've now got 4 into 29. Now 7 4s are 28, and there is going to be 1 left over to get to 29, so we carry 1 over. 4 into 10 is 2. And then there are 2 left over to make to 10, so from 8 to get to 10 is 2, so there's a little 2 carried over. 4 into 23, so 4 into 20 is 5, so 4 times 5 is 20. To make 23 is 3 left over. 4 into 39 is 9. Now 4 times 9 is 36, and we have got 3 left over. Now this time we've got to the end of a number. So when we get to the end of a number, we can include the decimal point. So if I include a decimal point, then I can put as many zeros as I like after a number, and this number will not be any different to what it was to start with. But now that little 3 that I carried over has got a meaning because it is now 4 into 30. Now remember, if the decimal point is here after the 9, the decimal point will go in the same place above. So it'll be a decimal point here, and we're looking at putting 4 into 30. So that is going to be 7, because 7 times 4 is 28, and there is 2 left over to make it to 30. So the little 2 needs to carry over here. Now I'm looking at 4 into 20, which is 5. So I have got 207,259.75. Now this number here I have got to round to the nearest hundred. So when I'm rounding to the nearest hundred, I need to look at the tens column. So anything after the decimal point I can ignore. The tens column is this one here where the 5 is. So we're looking at this digit here, 5. Is it 5 or more? Yes. So that means if it is 5 or more, we round the hundreds column up. So rounding this hundreds column, so the 200 becomes a 3. So I've got 207,000. This becomes a 3. The next 2 digits become 0. Anything after the decimal point just disappears. And I'm left with 207,300 people. You can put a comma in there if you want to. It is not necessary. It's personal preference as to whether you like to write the comma or not. But just make sure it doesn't look like a number, or you can write it without decimal point to get the 3 marks. So you would get 1 mark for adding them, 1 for doing the division, and 1 for the rounding will give you the 3 marks in the exam. Give yourself a big tick if you manage to get this correct. There's a lot of method marks here to do this question, so make sure you know your method, you know how to do it, and you know how to round to get the full marks for the question. Well done. This question shows the mark scheme, and it's up to 3M, which means 3 marks. Now you get 3 marks for getting the correct answer of 207,300. If the answer is incorrect, you can get 2 marks for evidence of adding up the values and then dividing by 4. Or if you've written down any of these numbers that are written down here, you can get 1 mark for evidence of an appropriate method with more than 1 error. So the marks come from the method. So 1 for doing the adding, 1 for doing the dividing, and then 1 for the rounding. So you can get up to 2 method marks for doing any part of it correctly, but your final mark to get the full 3 marks, you needed to get the answer fully correct. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. This is the last question on an exam paper on the paper 3 reasoning paper for the SATS. And on this question, it is a tricky question for the 1 mark that it is worth. And this is a coordinate question. So the key words in the question are that you're told that the rectangles are identical. So that means that this shape here down the bottom and this shape here, these are both rectangles and these 2 are both identical. You're told that the length is 3 times its width. So we're going to discuss these words here so we know what the length and the width are. And then you've got to work out the coordinate of P. Write your answer in the box. Now the brackets and the comma have already been given for the form of a coordinate, and this is worth 1 mark. Now for the last question on a paper to only be worth 1 mark, there's quite a lot you have to do for this 1 mark, and it is a tricky question. Now your key facts. First of all, you need to know that the word identical means exactly the same size. So this rectangle, both of them are exactly the same size. Now the length is the longest side of the rectangle, which is this distance across here. This is my length. And the width is the shortest side, so that distance here. And when you write your coordinates, you write an x coordinate first and then the y coordinate afterwards. So you've got to work out the coordinate of P, which is this point here in the top right of this second rectangle here. So you've got to work out how far along you go and then how far up to get to this point P, and you need to write your answer in here. Now this is a tricky question, as I said, so have a good think about it, see if you can work out how to get to P, and then press play if you need some help or you want to hear how to do the answer. Great work, guys. Hopefully you've managed to come up with an answer or think of some kind of way to be able to get a coordinate for P. It is tricky because you're only told that the bottom left-hand corner is 0, 1. And up here, the top left-hand corner is -2, 8. Okay, so this means this comes across 0 and we go up 1. So that means the y coordinate of point P has got to be bigger than 1 because this point here is 1. So you're looking up here, you're getting a number bigger than 1, but we've got to work out what this value here is. Then we've got to work out this distance across here, the x distance, but we're told that the total distance from the bottom up to the top is 8 because we go across 2 to the left and 8 up, so the total distance from here to here is 8. Now, because we're only told the total distance from here to here, I can actually work out the distance from this 8 point here to this 1 coordinate here when I'm looking at the y values. So if I take my y values and subtract them, 8 take away 1 is going to give me 7. So the total distance from here to here has got to be 7. Now we're told that the length of a rectangle is 3 times the length of its width, 3 times its width. Now this has got to be a multiple of 3, this distance here. Now if the total distance from here to here is 7, we're looking for a multiple of 3 that is less than 7. So we're going to look at the distance 6. So I'm going to take this length here to be 6, okay, because it is a multiple of 3 and it is less than 7. And you can see by the diagram it's not to scale, but it's only a little bit less than 7, rather than if I'd have just taken the number 3, then that's really too small. So if this distance here is 6, that means on the opposite rectangle, the distance along the bottom here is also 6, which will bring you down to this coordinate here for your x value to be 6, because the distance across here is 6. So that means from 0 to 6, we've got a coordinate of 6, and this first point here will be 6. We've now got to work out the y value. Now we know it's going to be greater than 1, but we're going to be using this rule here that the length is 3 times its width. Now if the width is 6, if I do 6 divided by 3, that gives me 2, which is this distance here. So my vertical distance here is 2, or my width is going to be 2. So if I started off at 0, 1, and then I know this distance here is 2, if I do my y value, which is 1 plus the 2, takes me to this coordinate at the top here, which will be 3, which is on the same level as P, which means my y coordinate is going to be 3. So this point up here will be 3 across. So if I go across 6 and up 3, that will take me to point 3. Now for 1 mark, this is quite a tricky question to be able to get that 1 mark. So if you manage to get it right, give yourself a big thumbs up and a big tick, because that is fantastic if you managed to get this answer, because it was very tricky to get that answer. So great work. Well done, guys. The mark scheme on this question shows there is 1 mark, so 1M means 1 method mark, for getting the value 6, 3. That is it. You need to get both values, the 6 and the 3, to get the method mark. You can't get a half mark for only getting one of the values correct. There was a lot of work you had to do and a lot of thinking on this question to be able to get that 1 mark, so it was very tricky, so well done if you did get it correct. If you found this video useful, please share, like and subscribe so we can all get great at maths. If you've enjoyed this video, please don't forget to share, like and subscribe. Please follow Get Great at Maths on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook and X. What do you want to see next on Get Great at Maths? Please comment below. See you next time.